And actually a really pivotal moment was it wasn't going to happen. And we had to learn to just say, all right, Lord, we trust you, not what we can make happen. Literally the next day, a court ordered that he could be released to us and into our care out of an impossible situation. So, yeah, it's kind of crazy. Like, Jesus really can.
Hey, I'm Nick.
Hey, I'm Austin French.
And you're watching
Bandkind.
It's Nick, and I am backstage with Bandkind and Austin French.
Hey!
Oh my gosh, we are really backstage.
Yeah, this is literally as backstage as you can get.
They're on an arena tour right now, and it's pretty powerful.
Over 17,000 people have texted in that they've made a profession of faith on this tour. So,
oh my goodness.
Insane.
That is insane.
Yeah, I think all of us are just, that's why we're all here.
Yeah.
Like, we hope that the show is amazing, but the show's going to leave, right? We go from town to town. The only thing that's going to really stay is life change. So to hear that number, it's sobering for everybody involved, yeah. So the new song's pretty stoked about it.
That's why you are here,
is
because life change is happening.
That's right.
I love that. And your set, tell me a little bit about your set.
Yeah, we kind of kicked this whole thing off. As soon as lights hit down, we are starting this thing. It's a lot of energy, big countdown. There's a lot of people just hyping up the crowd, and then we are just letting loose for the first part of this tour. So, yeah, we open up our night with a song called Born Again. A lot of energy, a lot of stuff. And the second song is called Good Feeling.
Yes, very
a lot
good.
of energy on that one, but we also have, something I've never done on stage before. It's a special surprise, but I will
Don't tell me.
Well, okay, you will see. But I have some friends on stage with me.
What?
Never brought other friends. The two really tall. They're the tallest friends I know. They're on stage with us for that song.
Thank you.
Yep. And then we have after that Freedom Hymn.
Yes.
And then after, really the whole set is kind of designed to get to this moment right after Freedom Hymn, to where I get to just share my testimony.
Wow.
About what God's done in my life, and then I present the song Jesus Can, and that's the last thing I leave with people.
That is a powerful night, and that is a powerful set. I think that the story that I heard from Austin French, it's been a couple of years ago now, people are now starting to be exposed to your story more and more because of the book Jesus Can.
Yeah.
But it was originally not supposed to be
a
book about Austin French.
I never really thought I would write an autobiography book.
Wow.
So the fact that I have one is crazy. So I started writing a song, not a song, a book about a song I call Why God. It was a very just
powerful,
to
hard,
me, very vulnerable.
Listen.
Very vulnerable song. And so I thought, man, I need to have a book to go along with that song to help people unpack what the emotions they're feeling after hearing it, really.
Yeah.
And so for me, it was I will tell some stories of why that song means something to me, where it came from, stories of people in my life, some why God moments. Well, honestly, my whole childhood is like a why God moment for me.
Yeah.
A lot of things that I struggled with, trauma and growing up in the church and being abused by my dad, and all these different things. It kind of came through of sharing stories began being I have to kind of start at day one. And so I started there, and then I just had to tell more stories and more stories. So a little devotional began to be, wow, my life really doesn't make sense without Jesus in it. It doesn't make sense for me to do what I do, to stand on the stages I stand on, to be a dad, to be a husband. My life doesn't make sense unless Jesus got in there and did something that only he could do. And so we were writing this book, and it felt like it transformed from a devotional book to go along with Why God, to be hey, this is my story. And as we were finishing up, I was writing songs for my new record. And I wrote this song about my story called Jesus Can. And I began to look through this book, and I'm like, this is the title of the book. This just sums up my whole life.
Yeah.
And so, hopefully people can read that book, hear the song, and be encouraged that their Jesus Can story matters as well.
Now, you and your wife, obviously, she knew much of your story before you got married. But what was it like for her to actually read it?
That was hard. It was definitely hard because there's a lot of things in there that I felt like I'd healed from, you know, and a lot of things that I've just like locked away in my memory. But as I began to unpack them, I'm like, oh man, I'm still working through that. Like I'm still living bits and pieces of that. And for my wife, in a way, it was the same for her. I'm just like, wow, I forgot you went through that. And that explains different things in our marriage that you're working through. And it's actually been a really big healing process for me. Even writing it down and writing like, oh man, that does explain so much about who I am as a man and as a human that I walk out every day. Like my biggest fear, and this is just being vulnerable, my biggest fear was to be a dad. Biggest fear was to be a husband. Because I never had a good example of what that looked like. And so walking into that, that's something you carry with you into marriage, right? You don't realize you're carrying it in, but you carry in all those, you know, vulnerable moments, you know, like the things that you lay your head down at night and think, oh man, I hope I get it right, you know? I didn't realize that until I was like really pinning them out and saying, oh yeah, my wife and I both have just like, God has really unlocked the key and not only in our marriage, but just in our life of just things that we need to let the Lord continue to work on. And that's good. Like, just uncover the things that you didn't think needed to be uncovered. This book was a big way I got to do that, you know?
Wow.
So yeah, the Lord's still growing me every day. And my wife loves me and kind of walks that journey with me as well,
So one powerful moment I remember from the French's early marriage was a story that Austin told about you guys deciding to move. And you're in a moving van, and she's in the car behind you. But it was the news the day before that that really began to change your lives. So tell me, this is a dad moment now.
This is a dad moment.
So I know it's a big story, but in a nutshell, give us that beginning.
Yeah, for me and my wife, we got married really young. I was 19. Well, I was 19. Yeah, no, I was 20. My wife was 19. And we've been married about a year and a half. And we had a 5-year plan to start having kids. And then we were moving down to South Florida. I had a U-Haul, you know, packed in my front yard. And we were leaving New Year's Day. So New Year's Eve, my mother-in-law shows up. My father-in-law show up at our door holding this little baby boy. And what had happened is he had been taken out of a home. He needed a safe home while they were trying to find him a place to be in the foster system eventually. And yeah, I had never met this little boy until that moment. And I saw this little boy, and God just whispered in my heart, "You're his daddy." I'm freaking out. Like, Lord, not me. Like, I have a plan. Like, this isn't my plan.
Right.
But I would die for that little boy. And I'd never met him before. It was just something supernatural that happened to me that I felt like this was my blood, like my kid. It was strange. It was just one of the most clear moments I've had with the Lord in a long time.
Wow.
And so, but I was terrified to tell my wife. And then the next day I'm driving the U-Haul, and my wife's in the car behind me, and I was like, hey, I think that's our kid. I think we're supposed to adopt him.
And you guys are talking to each other on
the phone, and we both had this moment. She was just like, me too. And so God confirmed it in both of our lives, and we just began to run after that. And it was scary. It was terrifying. But my father-in-law put it in this way. It's like, if a kid is drowning in a lake and you can swim, sure, someone else can swim too, but you're there. And I felt so inadequate to be a dad. Felt so inadequate, so young to jump into a foster situation. Like, so young. This wasn't part of my plan, right? But I was there.
It was a part of your fears.
Yeah, it's part of my fear. One of my greatest fears.
Yeah.
And I decided to lean into the fear and let the Lord be enough for me every day. And I still am doing that. You know, new challenges every day. But He is enough, and my faith is enough to lean on the Lord, not on my own understanding. And He's been enough every single day. So, yeah, now Coleman James is 7 years old, and my little boy. And yeah, he's great. We're going to be playing flag football very soon.
Yes.
So, yeah, it's I love being a dad. It went from my greatest fear to my greatest joy.
Of course it did. That's amazing. I do want to mention one really quick thing about Austin's story, and you can find more about it in the book Jesus Can. But just because you heard that voice of God didn't mean that was a quick turnaround. You guys still went through it.
Yeah.
It took a long time for that adoption to go through, didn't it?
Absolutely, yeah. We met him at 4 months old. We didn't adopt him officially until he had just turned 2 years old. So it was a lot of ups and downs. Like, as a husband, I want to fix everything, right? But there was days that me and my wife just had to cry together.
Yeah.
Like, we can't make this go faster. There was days that it looked like it was never going to happen. And actually, a really pivotal moment was it wasn't going to happen. And we had to learn to just say, all right, Lord, we trust you, not what we can make happen. Literally the next day, a court ordered that he could be released to us and into our care out of an impossible situation. So, yeah, it's kind of crazy. Like, Jesus really can.
I know, I was going to say,
you
into
know?
that we say, Jesus can.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, he can.
That is amazing. I love that. Thank you for telling that story. Thank you for listening. We're so glad. Check out Jesus Can, the book. You can go to Austin French's site for that. And, of course, his song, Spinning on National Radio.
Woo!
Woo!
That may be theirs.
Do you need to go through?
Yeah.
Okay, great. What is that, a saxophone?
Thank you.
No problem.
It was. Clarinet.
There we
Or
go.
clarinet. Woo! Hey, we are backstage with Austin French.